All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Locked On Avalanche. On today's episode, we got some injury news. What else is new there? So we'll talk about that. The Avalanche over the weekend with a very good game against Florida. They salvaged that road trip. What can they take from that tonight against Tampa? Because that was a rough game that they played against Tampa. Can they turn things around even with all these injuries? Can you play off what happened in Florida? Take that into this second game against Tampa. And this first game with Tampa is the first of three. Let me get my fingers right. Three straight back-to-backs. It's going to be crazy. We'll talk about all those back-to-backs, how important these next 2 weeks are, and maybe a special sound check for you as well. So a new episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Locked On Avalanche. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. And make sure to follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions to Locked On Avalanche at gmail.com, and follow us over on our YouTube channel. Over on YouTube, hit subscribe and get notified when a new show goes live. All right, sir, the Super Bowl is over, so we can get our focus back on it. I mean, my focus is only diverted from hockey for 24 hours so I can watch Super Bowl, and it's right back to hockey. Like my interest in the Super Bowl and the NFL has just gone downhill, and especially when the Broncos aren't in it. Of course, I didn't really want Kansas City to win, but I didn't lose any sleep over it.
I was enjoying the commercials.
Is that what you've gotten to now? We're so much hockey heads, like we're just there for the commercials now. Yeah. All right. So on today, like I said in the beginning, we're going to be getting to those 6 games. These next 2 weeks, how important are they for the Avalanche? They I don't know if it's going to be make or break, but God, if it goes south for these next 6 games over these next 2 weeks, the Avalanche might be trying to dig themselves out of a hole. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But we are going to talk about more injuries, and that just seems like the common thread for this season. That's nothing new to people who are following the Avs or listening to our show. I mean, it's getting like, no, it's not getting, it's gotten. I think Jared Bednar actually referenced it in a press conference. He said something, he referenced Dallas and said Dallas lost, they've lost all season 13 games, and they are going to lose that this week or something is how he phrased it. It's crazy. It's just the tides for 2 teams just, and despite all of that, the Avalanche are third in the Central and in a playoff spot.
And it's not just injuries to anyone. These are key players, and they always go out right when they're getting hot. And coming back from an injury, or like Nichushkin, especially, like you don't know where he is. I know that's labeled as a maintenance day, but you mentioned how many times we talk about injuries. I think we're well on our way to getting our doctorate with all of the medical journals that we have cited to this point. And it's ridiculous. And to see where the Avs are limping to third in the Central, literally and figuratively limping to third. It's a testament to what this team on paper 100% could actually be. But we're so far into the season, it's just frustrating. I don't think we'll ever get the opportunity to actually enjoy this team.
I mean, if you do, it's going to be at a minimum a month, because you're expecting Gabe Landeskog to come back middle of March. It's not guaranteed. And we all know how it's gone for him. So who knows what the heck's going to happen? Let's just say best case scenario, he does. You have a month left in the season. So best case scenario, that's considering everybody that is currently hurt comes back then. And you're going to get a month maybe of the healthiest team that you can have, which I guess in some aspect is good because you want to be healthy going into the season. But with Landeskog in particular, he's not going to have a lot of games under his belt. So yeah, he's a veteran, and it shouldn't take him too long to get back into the swing of things. But maybe it will, because it's not like he can. I don't know how much conditioning he's actually doing. He can't really do any lower body conditioning. So it's going to be it's going to be an interesting go of it for the Avs for the rest of the season.
And you were talking about we might not see a healthy Avalanche team for another month, which means the trade deadline's coming up.
Yep.
And the money is tight for the Avalanche. You can't really go out and do a lot. And if your pieces that you do have are constantly injured, that is also putting the Avalanche in a weird place when it comes to the trade deadline, because you don't have a lot of pieces to offer up or to get through, because the roster is so depleted as it is. It really puts the Avalanche in a weird position that it's unprecedented.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. And the name that you hear a lot in terms of trade talk right now is Sean Monahan, who he's had a rough go of it himself this year with injuries. So do you really want to bring him in? Like, if you're confident like that, it's an isolated incident or whatever the case may be, then obviously you go after it. But I think from a fan base perspective, they're going to be looking at it like, okay, I guess pile on the injuries for this team. Why not? Because right now this is what you got going into the game against Tampa. Josh Manson, he's not going to play. He seems like he's close, but he's not going to play in this game. Val Nichushkin did not practice. That set off a minor firestorm, but Bednar said it was a maintenance day for him, and I'm fine with that. So he should be playing. Erik Johnson is out. The interesting thing with that, no timeline. I don't like how that looked. Like, no. I think you got a broken bone in there somewhere on that shot that he blocked. So he's out, no timeline. He said Cale Makar is out, and they have no timeline next to it, but you got to think it's not going to be much longer for him. Maybe he's out these next 2 games, and he comes back at the end of the week, maybe. But I mean, he was at practice. I think he had the red jersey on. I think he had a no contact jersey on, which you're going to have that for maybe a couple extra days when you have the hit that he took to his head. So he's out. Pavel Francouz suddenly is out. Jonas Johansson got called up, and you still have Darren Helm is out. They have no timeline on him, and obviously Landeskog is out. So there's okay. So Nichushkin's playing good. You have Manson, who continues to be out but should be back soon. Erik Johnson and Makar are out. There's 2 defensemen. What are you doing? I mean, what are we running with? You're going to be doing the 5 defensemen? I don't know. Like, it's going to be. I mean, I never thought. Thank God Brad Hunt cleared waivers. Yeah, and I never thought I would say that, but thank God he did, because they put him on waivers and then they play him. So he's playing while he's on waivers, and then Erik Johnson gets hurt in that game. And I jokingly put up on Twitter, can we cancel that, putting on waivers thing? But he cleared, and you would have to imagine he's going to come back up. But I never thought I would say, thank God he cleared waivers. And I never thought we would have 3 of our defensemen be Hunt, England, and McDermott. And you're going up against Tampa. Okay, let's. And
that last game went really well.
Yeah, that was a great one. It's gonna be tough.
And again, like, to have 3rd in the Central with that being half of your D pairings, I mean, that's not terrible, but it's not sustainable. And again, like, that goes back to the injury point and the trade deadline. If this sustains for a while, because you were talking about Cale Makar with no timeline. Cale Makar, if you look at the other defenseman that's half of his number, Bo Byram, like, we had no timeline, and we kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. You don't know if we're going to run into that with Cale Makar, where he's right there, but then a little setback, and right there and a little setback. You never know with these things. Where did the Avalanche go? This is who's out there is who you have. It's not like you can do too much.
I mean, with those 3, and then you add obviously Taves, Girard, and Byram, there's your 6 defenders. That's oof. I don't know. I mean that's tough. I mean, you get by with that against mid-range teams, middle of the standings and down. You know what I mean? But when you're going up, it does not give you confidence that you can hold a team like Tampa to under 30 shots. You know what I mean? It does just not. And this team is not built like they were last year. That's no secret. Like, you had injuries last year. I mean, we're the Avalanche. We have injuries every single year. But last year, you had. I mean, that team. You look back at that team, you're like, man, like you could overcome it because you had guys like Kadri there, and you had guys like Burakovsky who can slide in and just replace all those games that you were missing. And now we have that much on the defense. That's tough for any team to overcome. So I don't know, man. It's just the fact how you played Tampa last week, and those guys were there. Now they're not, and it was a 5-0 game. God, I hope we don't have a repeat of that. I don't have a ton of confidence right now going into this game against Tampa. And very rarely do I have that. Usually with this Avalanche team the past couple of years, every game you're going into, you feel pretty confident that they can, win almost every game that they're going to take part in. But this is going to be a tough one.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. So we will talk about the game against Florida and kind of, that's the nature of this season, the up and down nature of this season. And what do we expect in this second game against Tampa? So, and then of course a sound check to get to, a special edition sound check for these 6 games all back to back. Not in a row. That would be crazy, but 3 sets of back to backs. All right, but first we're going to hear from FanDuel and our latest and best new sponsor here over at Locked On. It's the midway point of the NBA season. We are done with football, obviously, so we're moving on to the midway points of our season, the NHL. We're past that midway point of our season, and the NBA just is their All-Star game is soon, right? That's got to be
it's
soon.
Next weekend.
Yeah, so it's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because new customers get that no sweat first bet. It's not just an NFL thing. That goes across the board, folks, and you can get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. And then you can bet on everything from the money line to 3-pointers drained. You can bet on that, dude. Which, I mean, I don't really watch NBA anymore, but I'm pretty sure that's all they take now. In the NBA is 3-point shots. I don't think anything other than a 3-point shot exists.
Catching that total is going to be interesting, though.
Yeah. So, can you bet on like if a team plays defense in the NBA?
Ooh.
I don't know how you would. I'm
a Knicks fan, so I don't know.
I don't know how you would pay that out. Like, how do you just determine if a team plays defense? But I would just say that you would win that every single time.
You betcha.
Maybe being a little bit. I don't know. My NBA days were back in the 90s, man. Those Knicks Heat rivalries could not beat those. So FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet for up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked on. That is FanDuel.com/locked on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, so the Avs, with that entertaining win over the Florida Panthers, and they get 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 overtime loss in that 3-game road trip. Not horrible, not what you want when you're, the Avalanche, but you salvaged a win out of 6 possible points. You got 3. I think most of the time you'd be okay with that, and I think you don't want to have that last game be the deciding factor in kind of salvaging it, but that's the position that the Avalanche were in, and it would have been a lot easier if they had won that game against Pittsburgh. But that one slid through. Yeah, that one's just gonna stick in my side for a while.
Yeah.
That one, but I thought the Avs played a a solid game against Florida. And what I really liked more than anything else was they bounced back. Like they got the lead. They didn't give up the lead. They let Florida tie it. It was 2-0. Florida comes back, scores 2 in like a minute and 10 seconds or something like that. And when that happens, especially on, their ice, the home crowd is into it. It just seems like lately the Avalanche have struggled to really just regain the momentum. We've talked about it so many times. We just want to see guys like Nathan MacKinnon just step up and just take the game back. And I thought from a team standpoint, it wasn't even mainly him. It was everybody just said, like, let's just get back to work here. And they did, and they took it back, and they scored it. It was 2-2. They scored that third goal relatively quickly, and you just love seeing stuff like that. You haven't been seeing that lately for the Avs.
And to hold that momentum, the last time we talked with Locked On Panthers, they were talking about we're kind of sitting in the same spot with the season, kind of underwhelming. Florida, before that game, won 3 in a row. They were putting things together. They were really confident in what they were building and saw the Avalanche as just the next step. And for the Avs to get out to that lead early, by the way, that's 2 goals in the first period. Yeah. So check. That's a win there. And to carry that, they tallied a goal in every period, and to maintain that pressure and not cave into the moment, that was big for the Avalanche. And with players going up and down, Cogliano left the ice for a little bit, but then came back. It was just a weird game of players going to the locker room and back, and to hold that momentum with everything going on, with Florida not taking their foot off the gas, that was a big gutsy win for the Avalanche.
Yeah, I mean, you had Logan O'Connor getting his first goal, and I don't know what the final tally was. I kind of stopped really paying attention. It was in the 30s. It was somewhere in the mid 30s. But he got it in very Logan O'Connor fashion on a shorthanded goal, which is kind of like his specialty. I mean, it's very tough to say, shorthanded goals is someone's specialty, but he does it often for the Avs anyway. But so it was really nice to see him get that first one back in a long time. They had 50 shots on goal, 50. Yep. So, and let me get to their stats here. So 50 shots on goal, the Panthers with 45. And I believe they were saying in the broadcast that is the most this season combined in a game. I think it was 92. So they surpassed that by a few. Yeah, man, I like the way they played, and I like the way that they took the momentum back, because like I said in episode last week, it just seems like, when things start going south for the Avs, they haven't been able to do that. And you went into the third again, like, okay, here's this dreaded third. And, when the goalie gets pulled, they got an empty netter. And you could tell Nathan MacKinnon wanted to give that empty netter to Mikko so bad.
Yeah.
But he was just like, I'm trying, but I'm not going to overcommit to it. I'm just going to throw this thing in so we can end this siege.
And I can't go on without that second goal. Nieto, like, welcome back, beautiful. Bud. It beautiful. Was, and Devontae's and his goal, just like that gritty, like, just that's a relentless goal. Like, that's what you want to see. Depth scoring, number one.
Yep.
That's what this Avalanche team has needed for weeks now. Depth scoring from LOC and Nieto, awesome. And then Taser finally getting back into the scoring, like, goals department, which it's been a while. So for him to get that, and then Nathan MacKinnon to kind of top it off with his little seal of approval, like, that's what you want when they're getting peppered. And you mentioned holding Tampa Bay in the first segment to 30 shots. If we can't hold Florida to 30 and we're allowing 45, that might be a sign of things to come with the game tonight. But to withstand that kind of onslaught offensively from Florida, it speaks a lot to the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah. I mean, Bobrovsky was giving up rebounds left and right. I mean, good Lord. And that was the one that Taves put back. That was nice. I loved the play from Comfort to Nieto behind the net. Like, it's very tough to do. Like, the Avs don't really seem to make that pass all that much. It seems like if they're behind the net, they'll circle it back around, they'll go back to the blue line, and then just run their offense that way. And I understand, like, it's a tough pass to make. And even if you do get it to the guy, there's usually 3 guys there to knock his stick. It's just very difficult. Florida just let him camp there.
Yep.
He just found a nice little cushion, and nobody got him. But it had to be a great pass from Comfer, and it was, and he put it home. That was a really, really nice play. And yeah, you were cruising at that point in time.
Yep.
So that's what you want to see. Like when you're the Avs, like, it is such an up and down year. And while I said in the first segment, like, I'm not super confident going into this game, you can understand why. You just went up against this team with a healthier team than you have what you're going into this game against, and you lost 5-0. And with the way that the season has gone, it's just, okay, we just played a good game, and we haven't been following that up with another good game. And can it happen? Of course it can. Of course it can. This team can do anything that it wants to do, but it's just been a struggle. And the injuries are catching up to them, I feel, just mentally. And it's just like every day we don't know what our unit is going to be. And you're constantly changing guys and shifting guys, and you don't get those, like, game after game after game. This is like Alexander Georgiev and how they were saying, like, he needs to play over and over and over again. Yep. Well, the Avs as a unit need to play over and over and over, and they're not. So it's just, you're going in, and you're not the guy that you're paired up with now. Maybe you haven't played with him in like a dozen games, and all of this stuff happening right now for the Avalanche again to go into this game against Tampa. It's going to be a challenge, but they have to feel good about the way that they played against Florida. So you take that, do the best you can, and anything's possible. That's the crazy thing about hockey. We were just saying that about the Pittsburgh game. Pittsburgh had no business being in that game except for 10 minutes, and they got 2 points out of it.
Yeah, like the Avalanche, the way they're comprising the roster right now, it's like glorified beer league hockey. Like, you don't know if Cale's going to be here. You don't know who's showing up. You show up to the locker room, who's there is there, and I guess this is how we're going to play tonight.
Yep.
It's very frustrating.
All right, let's hear from Athletic Greens, and then we will talk about these next 6 games and a special edition of our sound check. We got Athletic Greens here, and does Kyle have his?
Oh yeah,
there it is. There it is. That glorious green coffee canister holding that glorious green Athletic Greens AG1. I'm seeing it on TV a lot more now.
I am too.
Yeah. So, and why? Because the stuff is good. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you are absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, and probiotics to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, all the things that are important to you. And it's a lifestyle-friendly product, whether you're eating keto, paleo, vegan, or dairy, or gluten-free. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar. There's no GMOs, no nasty chemical taste or artificial taste. Stuff tastes good. It
does.
Not lying. I mean, it might be that dark greenish vegetable color, but it's a good fruit juice tasting product. Trust me. And it costs less than your $3 a day habit, and you're investing in your health. And it's cheaper than your cold brew or your energy drink habit, which our good friend, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, is trying to kick. You are on, this is week number 2.
Yeah.
How you doing, my friend?
Thank you, Athletic Greens.
It's a struggle, but he needs, he's at the stage where he needs your support, people.
Yeah.
Comment down below. Shaggy, you can do it. Hashtag Shaggy, you can do it. And right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with a convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day, and that is it. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens will give you a 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Once again, it's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right. So at the beginning of every month, we obviously go over that month's schedule. We did February, and what jumped out was these next 6 games. The Avalanche have 3 straight back-to-backs. So they have 2. The first one is right now with Tampa at home, and then tomorrow you go to Minnesota, right? So we figured, like, why not look at these, because now this is big.
Yeah.
And when you look at this, then you look at the teams that they're playing. Let's see, with every single one of them is of great importance, really, when you're looking at this schedule. So these next 2 weeks for the Avalanche could be just, it could go one of 2 ways. I mean, maybe if they toe the line and go 3-3 and they're no worse off than when we started these old back-to-backs, but it could be where they really take control of their season, or the opposite. If it completely falters, is this the we can look back and be like, this could be the couple weeks where it was the backbreaker for the Avalanche. So yeah, go ahead, and then we'll kind of dive into these.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, we could call them the Sinister Six, like these 6 games that we got coming up, like, because they're coupled with a central team, each one of them, either on the front end or the back end. So whatever damage you take with your non-divisional team, like, you still have to come back to the central, and that's going to affect what you're pushing for, because wake up one day, the Avs are in 3rd or they're in the 2nd wild card. It's that thin of a margin in the central. And when we get to the breaking down part, like, there's no days off in this next 2 weeks.
Well,
there's a lot of days off.
The games, there's no days off.
But there's no reason to sit here and, like, justify, well, that was a 4-2 loss, but at least they did. No, you need 2 points in each one of these games.
Yeah. I've never, and I said this when we did this at the beginning of the month, I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
Where a team has 3 back-to-back series in a row. Never seen it. And you're right. Like there is going to be, point shifts in every single one of these games, whoever comes out on top. So obviously tonight you have Tampa. And like I said, then tomorrow you are in Minnesota, and then you have 2 days off. And then on Saturday, you're in St. Louis. So there's your divisional game. And then the next day on Sunday, you are home against Edmonton. So there's a, wild card importance game. And then you're off for some reason, 4 days. I don't understand how you have 3 back-to-backs in a row and you have a 4-day break in between here. You couldn't split that up somewhere? I don't know. But anyway, you have 4 days off. So then on Friday, the 24th, you are in Winnipeg, and then you follow that up on Saturday so like I said, the Winnipeg, there's your divisional game. And then you follow that up at home against Calgary. There's your wild card game. So, God, I mean, with the exception of Tampa, you get that one out of the way. The next 5 are of huge significance, and these are 4-point games. Like that's what these are. So you got to get as many points as humanly possible over the next 2 weeks,
because you also have to understand you're facing these divisional teams before the trade deadline. So this is probably the weakest they're going to be, because they know what weaknesses they have. They are going to address it when the trade deadline comes around. So you can't expect them to hit them again in March or in April, when they are going to be far more improved. Or if they do make the playoffs, this is going to be a much improved squad. So if you want to get these points now, this is going to be the best time to do it, because it doesn't get easier from here.
No. So I'm just looking at, because I want to get the most updated stats. So you have Edmonton right now is in 3rd in the Pacific. Points wise, they are tied with Seattle. Seattle's got a game in hand. They both have 65 points. I know we go off points percentage, but that's where we are. The Wild are holding on to that 2nd wild card spot right now. They have 60 points. So do Calgary with 60 points. Minnesota does have a game in hand over them. So, and then, St. Louis is down the standings a little bit, but still, I mean, that's going to be, they're not going to roll over and die when the Avalanche come to town. So, yeah, man, like this is big. This is really, really, I don't think we can like make light of it. We were talking about it at the beginning of the month, and now that it's here and where the Avalanche stand, you're in a playoff spot. You want to be in that same spot. You have an opportunity to maybe be a little bit better off if you can knock out a lot of these teams, but easier said than done, especially with, what the Avalanche are putting out there right now. But you're hoping if you can get Manson back and you can get Makar back, okay, then I'll be happy. Maybe you don't get them for these first 2 games, but if you get them for the next 4 and you can maybe go on a nice little run, it's tough for back-to-backs though. Like that you're up against that. So it's going to be an interesting 2 weeks, man.
And Dallas is up 10 points on what Colorado has 60, Dallas has 70. So you could get 6 points in the Central in these back-to-backs. If you do what you're supposed to and run the table, you get 6 Central points here and really close that gap and really help your case. But there's a lot of rewards in this.
Yeah.
But you could really lose your place really quick if things go south.
So I'm looking up the schedule for these teams that they're playing, right? So the Wild are not playing a back-to-back. So the Avalanche will be on a back-to-back while the Wild will have a day off. What's the second one? Edmonton is not playing a back-to-back. So they will have a day off when the Avalanche play their second game on the second duo of games. And then the last one is Winnipeg and Calgary. And Calgary, they also are not playing a back-to-back. So the second game of all 3 sets of these, the Avalanche are the only one playing a back-to-back in all 3 sets of these games. Who's making the schedule here? That is incredibly unfair. Incredibly unfair, and I don't care if you're saying like you're whining about it. Damn right I am. If you're gonna do it once, fine. Like I can deal with that. If you're gonna do it twice, now you're kind of angering me, and you do it 3 times in a row. Whoever's making the schedule deserves to be fired, right along with Department of Player Safety. So
let me know when they do. I'll put in an application.
So to kind of celebrate these 3 back-to-backs, we're going to do a special sound check for everybody and kind of wrap it up on that. And we usually do these after games are over. So we will have one tomorrow after the Tampa game. But we typically will pick songs that summarize the most recent game. In this aspect, we're going to look forward to these next 6 games, put up a special sound check for you up on Spotify. Follow the playlist, go search for LOA sound check and follow along. So what do you have for the, what are we calling this? The Sinister Six?
The Sinister Six.
I love it.
I'm going back to Huey Lewis and the News.
Can't beat him.
If this is it, because it could be. This could be a huge barometer and this could be a huge point of the season in this stretch of games. So if this is it, by Huey Lewis and the News will be the song that I'll be crying myself to sleep to if we do not perform like we should.
Very well. And for me, I'm playing off of how many games it is, with the 6 games. You extend that out a couple extra 6s and you got the Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden, because this could go to hell pretty quickly if the Avalanche struggle for these next couple weeks. So
great song.
I don't want to say it's it's all doom and gloom, but pay attention, people, because these next 6 games are going to be big. So game 1 starts tonight, so it might be the toughest one of them all, but it's at home, and you always feel good when the Avalanche are playing at home. So we will be back tomorrow, and we will be doing it live. Like we said, we're doing these shows after game days live. So follow along on YouTube. You'll get the notification when it's going live. You can join in and chat along while we're recording the episode. So That's going to wrap it up for today, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow. Like we said, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. For Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.